Hallo miteinander, I'm Geshidi6, and this is Help Me Remember Satori-sama. We've got a pretty extraordinary fan game here, not in the sense that it breaks any boundaries, but more in that I'm not sure what genre would describe it. Perhaps a quiz game? Yet even that isn't too accurate. The title screen highlights the two most important characters of this game's scenario, Oku and Satori. The latter is whose role we must take. We have the selection of a tutorial and 7 stages. I will show you the levels I enjoy the most on the still very gentle normal difficulty. Every problem Satori faces is introduced by a very cute cutscene. The premise here is that Satori is feeling sickly to the degree that she can't use her third eye's power to the usual extent, but must still manage the dealings of Chireiden. To this end, she must help the bird-brained Oku remember all kinds of vital information that she forgore, all for the sake of the palace's household. For stage 2, the issue at hand is that a new applicant has come to Chireiden, and like most folks there, they are a specific animal or animal yokai. Even though the Hellraven has seen that creature and apparently even interviewed them, Oku now draws a complete blank on what species they were. Thus, we are about to ask our dear, stupid pet yes or no questions in the hopes of jogging her memory. Which brings us to the actual gameplay. All of it takes place at this location with only this viewpoint, but that doesn't mean the game's simple. We always have 3 questions to choose from, and once we click on Satori's third eye, our vision goes really psychedelic. This is an ability to confirm answers, more on that later. Right now, we must concentrate on asking questions we think will narrow down the number of animals it could be as best as we can. The knowledge of which questions fulfill that purpose only comes by logic and experience. And there's the scary third eye again. Whenever we trigger that power, the question and corresponding answer on the top left is marked in yellow. What's that about? Well, Oku sometimes lies to you. Sorry, that's a mean thing to claim. It's not that she lies maliciously, it's more that she derps out and says something after only barely listening. ADHD, basically. The third eye will always cause Oku to correct herself to a truth, and even helps her out when struggling to answer at all. The third eye is quite the mighty tool, so why don't we use it on every answer? Because it has a cooldown. Moreover, there's a time bar in the top center. Once depleted, we lose the round, so we have a finite number of third eye uses. You should only confirm on the answers where false assumptions would be the most devastating. Unconfirmed answers can still be helpful, but shouldn't ever be completely relied upon. We can also look at a list of possible solutions as an extra aid. Know that you won't have this tool until you've lost at a stage at least 4 times. Before then, you will only be able to guess an animal you can freely think of, which is a problem if the game has something especially exotic in mind. What do we know so far? It's an omnivore of neutral size, which I know describes the dimensions of a cat or dog in this case, but those two can't be it, as they are too common to be of interest to zoos. From my experience, the livestock and mammal questions are about the best ones to ask and second guess. No matter the answer, those will always thin out the possibilities. I believe at this point I had already fixated on it being a fox? The no on livestock has thrown out the pig, and it being an omnivore has ruled out the koala. Yes, that eucalyptus muncher is legitimately in the answer list. What a stretch. Australians have the advantage. Finally, we're getting to whether it's a mammal. Honestly, I wouldn't have known what to think if it hadn't been one. There's one more thing that causes me a bit of sorrow, the fact that it could also be a raccoon. They are pretty close to foxes in their attributes, so much that it's almost a guess. Worse, the question about Gensokyo's yokai doesn't help much, as tanuki are treated as a raccoon's equivalent here. So who will it be? Mamizo Futatsuiwa or Ranyakumo? Start the drum roll. My tendency towards the one I like better did not let us down, and Oku is beaming with amazement. Winning a round, even this early in the game and on normal difficulty, is not to be taken for granted. Help me remember, Satori-sama can be pretty humbling for one's intellect. I've gone, I should have known this, plenty of times. Satori learns that the new applicant won't start working until the next week. What a paradox that bird brain was able to hold on to the precise date, but not their species. We're skipping a stage to one I like especially. We're also skipping the cutscenes from here on, not because I don't enjoy them, I'll say it again, they're lovely. It just makes little sense to show you more snippets of the story without coherence. Our new subject is vehicles. This does not mean something as mundane like car brands, but rather all broad types of transportation humanity has devised from the Stone Age to our current times. There's a fundamental change compared to Stage 2, and it's found at the door. Do you have a minute? Someone said, and I'm coming in. That was Orin. If left ignored, our house cat will burst in and distract Oku with meaningless chit-chat, costing us valuable time. Koishi also appeared. We shouted her away promptly. Our aloof sister is even worse, as she'll blast a party popper to startle us. That'll not only cost us time, we'll even forget a few questions we have asked, potentially even confirmed ones. So from Stage 3 onward, this game is not just about peacefully pondering the object it's looking for, you must always be ready to multitask. That is a little stressful, but also a lot of fun. One thing to know about Orin: she will only enter the room after 3 warnings, but you should always wait to send her away until that last message. Otherwise, her next attempt to get into the room will come sooner. The answer about the vehicle being water-related is nudging me into the direction of one of 3 solutions: a raft, a boat, or a ship. Thinking about it though, the ship is pretty much out of the picture, as it's too big and also too fast. We've deleted the aquatic question to ask it again when it's better aligned with the cooldown of our third eye. You know what's especially devious about Koishi? Sometimes she'll appear in the area behind our question log. Speak of the devil, there, she just tried it. Not only is she better concealed there due to the text, you may accidentally click on a question to delete it. There is a button to toggle the question log because of that exact situation, but that's another step to take when you may already be panicking. I usually manage to click her away in time, even without that feature. Time is running low. We'll have to make our guess soon. At this point, it's pretty obvious that the object was something very primitive and small, yet my mind was still hung up on a boat. I don't think this is meant as a humble fishing boat, they're thinking more of a speedboat. And we have one of those typical "how could I have been so dense" moments. Of course it was a raft. Let's not get demotivated, we'll try again. The developer of this game is called ISY, and it's actually the second title they've posted onto Steam, the first being Hina-chan's Big Trade Millionaire Lunch. Now I view myself as the world's biggest super fan of Hina, yet I haven't featured that one, and I probably never will. There's nothing bad or wrong about that game, it's just that its gameplay basically consists of memorizing a huge table of what character trades you which items. And that's pretty much all I could tell you in a video on Millionaire Lunch. Help Me Remember Satori-sama just has a lot more to it, and I definitely like it better. So far on this attempt, we haven't learned much. It's powered by machinery and affected by the wind. It's a good thing we needn't hold back with our tools while learning more. There are special achievements for every stage that may persuade you to do just that. It's acknowledged if you win a round without asking more than 6 questions or using the third eye more than twice. These criteria, luckily, don't have to be met on the same attempt. Hunting achievements can be fun, but for our video, I wanted to show you this game in a very pure, entertaining form without self-imposed restrictions. The only achievement we would have gotten anyway on stage 2 was clearing without any false guesses. Guessing wrong needn't mean a game over, you only lose some time. This penalty is however raised so severely on hard and lunatic difficulties, you might as well have only a single shot. It's starting to come together. Our desired object is very fast and seems to fly. That narrows it down somewhat. It could be an airplane, a fighter jet, or a spaceship. It all depends on which questions Oku derped out on. At this point, I know my mind was set on the plane. We'll have to be bold and just take the risk. It paid off. I actually appreciate that you must type out the solution. The game doesn't check for resemblance at all, so you better watch your spelling. There's one more stage I wanted to tackle in this video, the extra stage. It's my favorite and probably everyone's favorite, as the subject matter is the Toho cast. The developer could have likely made this game's concept work without the Toho license, but this stage is absolutely inseparable to it. The possible solutions reach from the Windows era all the way to 18, written works included. That has to be at least 100 girls. A look at the answer list tells us that looking at the answer list is practically futile. This whole scenario makes me recall the time in school when you could impress your classmates by reciting all 151 Gen 1 Pokemon. Such a skill, except with Toho's, will be your saving grace here. Generally, all hair color questions are of fairly low value to you. Unless the answer is something other than no, you shouldn't second guess them with a third eye. Interestingly, them being neutral concerning white hair is very telling, as it made me suspect the hair is multicolored. Such a rare trait could, for example, be found on the resident history teacher, Kene. I've only won the extra stage 3 times prior to this recording. One of the bullseyes was Renosuke, who was white-haired and suspiciously neutral on being both a human and a yokai. The second hit was Chirno, where the blue hair and fairy were dead giveaways. The solution on my last victory, I forgore. I am unsure how this game handles Kane being a were-Hakutaku, but the hard no on her humanity definitely made me anxious. The problem is, once the character you've been hung up on is mostly ruled out, it's very difficult to reorient your thoughts on somebody else. Who else could be using hair dye? Close save on Koichi there. She and Orin become more active the further you are in the game, and even more so on higher difficulties. A girl all the answers would still mostly fit would be Ryuko. Sorry, I mean Seija. A very crucial question is about to come up, and it's, do they have any horns? Of course, I'm hoping for some massive, pointy bull horns, but Seija too has some tiny, blunt ones. Oh well, size doesn't matter. Even when things are not going your way, this game is always a blast to play, if anything for Oku's exaggerated expressions and adorable body language. Nothing left to do but make one more hasty, desperate attempt. My neurons shouted milkers, and it saved us. Urumi Ushizaki was the horned, black and white-haired yokai we sought. Help Me Remember Satori-sama is a game I never knew I wanted. One of the great things about the Toho fandom is you'll stumble upon the most unconventional games, and ISY delivered a good one on top. With that, I'm Geshi6, bis bald!